My name is Brian Johnson, and I'm your instructor for basic drawing. Um, I'm in my home right now in my little studio workspace, and I don't have a script for this. It's not edited. This is just me talking. This is how I would do this in class. And this is the first time I'm teaching a basic drawing class solely online. Last semester, I had a group, a really great group of students that were divided so that some of them came on Mondays and some of them came on Wednesdays. And it was a really good class. And so this presents a whole new challenge. And the more I think about it, the more challenging it gets. I want you to know that I'm here to help you. And the gratifying part of teaching for me really is helping people one on one and having those conversations and seeing those realizations as we work. And so that's much harder in this kind of situation. I think it's harder for you in that maybe a lot of times you might feel like you're on your own. I know a lot of students last semester struggled um, because they felt like they were kind of on their own, and it was good for them to kind of be able to talk to one another and vent their frustrations and kind of that gave me a lot of insight into what was happening for students. So first and foremost, I guess that's what I want you to know is that I'm here to help you, and you have to reach out. And that this kind of class, it's incredibly difficult to just do it all on your own with no help. So I want to go through some things that I think will help make the class easier for you and hopefully more rewarding. The first thing is I want you to think about drawing as a practice, right? It's how a lot of artists talk about what they do as a studio practice, meaning that there isn't one big final thing that they're doing or everything is equal in importance, right? And it's a mindset too. Um, as I say here, it says, draw to understand what you're seeing. The drawing is a record of your own looking and experiencing. Draw to understand. It's something that I say a lot in class, right? You're not just trying to finish, you're not just trying to represent that thing really well. You're really kind of drawing to figure out what is this shape I'm seeing and how do I represent that? The other thing that that statement, draw to understand what you're seeing, I think implies is that you have to have a change of mindset. You have to start seeing the world differently in order to do that. You can't see it as chairs and tables and cups. You have to see it as flat two-dimensional shapes, right? And so if we can see those things in those ways, flatten out the world, then we can draw them. Next, it says focus on exploration, play, and growth over just completing an assignment. Engage with the process of making a drawing. So I think the moment you start thinking about, this isn't any good, or this isn't looking right, or I want to make this the best possible thing ever, I think you set up lots of hurdles that you don't need to. As I said, as a practice, it should be a place where you play, where you can explore, where you can grow. I mean, if you think about any other kind of physical activity, playing basketball, playing golf, you have to practice at these things. And that's how you build confidence. It's how you build a system of things you do and ways you do them. But at the same time, practice means that you are openly exploring and trying and not being afraid of failing. I think you have to fail a lot to get good. And that's my methodology as well. I'm emphasizing mistakes and failure and the idea that everything you do is practice. Embrace new approaches instead of habitually taking an approach that you do to every drawing or taking an approach that you think is the correct way to draw. I'm going to be asking you to try to make drawings in ways you haven't done before. And you're going to feel awkward and frustrated. Don't fight those things. Give in to those things. Again, the idea of practice means that you're playing. And so trying new things is important. It's also about building confidence in just making marks and staying loose. I think that's maybe one of the hardest things for most students is being able to stay loose in their approach in making drawings. And lastly, draw for yourself. Don't draw for me. You're drawing to get better after all, right? And so I want you to start building that confidence. I want you to stay loose and playful. And, it makes me think of that statement of dance like no one's around. You have to draw like no one is paying attention, right? Draw for you. Next, in Canvas, I've got a series of weekly learning modules, and you have to approach those sequentially. Each concept, lesson, and drawing really builds on the last one that you did, right? And so I've designed it so that it has to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. You can't really skip around and get it, right? Because in order to do one drawing weeks down the road, you had to have done all the other drawings to get to that point, right? Each module is meant to build a foundation of knowledge and experience. In order to get the information, you really have to thoroughly read through each page, watch each video, and take notes as you go through the material. One thing I'm going to be doing as the semester progresses is trying to record lectures of all of the information that I have already there in page form on Canvas. So hopefully both of those things can help you, right? Ultimately, you have to ask yourself as you go through this information, what is important to remember? What's the point here, right? Why am I being shown this? Everything is placed for a reason for you to learn from, right? There's not a lot of extraneous things here that's, oh, this is on here just for fun or whatever. Everything has a point, right? And so it's leading up to you being able to make a drawing or a series of drawings using these concepts, ideas, and points. I want you to draw on a weekly basis. It's the same kind of thing with this idea of practice, right? If you practice basketball 1 week and you don't do it again for 5 weeks, you're not really going to get anything from it, right? You're losing skill and ability, right? So what's really important is to schedule your time. I say schedule 2 drawing sessions per week. So it's not all just in one big clump. And each session should be around 2, maybe 3 hours. When we do this class face-to-face, it's a 3-hour studio class, right? And that's 2 days a week. So we're doing something comparable to that, right? Maintaining that schedule is like attending a class, right? It gives you something you need to be doing in a certain amount of time. You're not thinking about anything else. The beauty of an in-class drawing studio is that you can not think about anything else but that one thing. That's a real challenge for you when you're on your own. And so it's imperative that you schedule time to do the class, right? If you don't, you're going to fall behind easily. And if you fall behind, likely you're going to fail. That's just the reality of it. Even last semester, I had lots of students that fell behind, right? And I did all I could to help them catch up. It was a struggle for them. You have to also let me know what's going on with you, right? I've done a lot to try to pare back the course to make it a bit easier since you have to do all the work of setting things up, figuring out what to draw, getting your lighting set. All of this stuff I take care of, right? In a class. You have to deal with. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of thought and it's a lot of energy, right? So if you can schedule your time, it makes it so much easier, right? And you have to remember you only have a certain amount of concentration, a certain amount of energy. And so that's why I say make it 2 sessions, break it up, right? Anything you do in the class that I grade, you can always redo it. You can always rework it, and your grade will never go lower. It can only go up or stay the same. There's no penalty for making the drawing worse than it was before, right? Again, I want you to think about it as practice and playing and exploring. How do I gauge your participation and attendance in a class like this? Well, by meeting my prescribed deadlines, right? Our due dates are going to be Mondays at 9 a.m. for all the previous week's work, right? So that hopefully will make it easy for you to remember, okay, every Monday I have drawings that I need to document and then edit and then turn them in for grading. Now, I'm not overly concerned if it doesn't meet the 9 a.m. deadline, right? If it's in at 10 o'clock, if it's in at 11 o'clock, if it's in on Monday, that's generally fine with me. Don't get too absorbed with deadlines, other than if you start missing a lot of deadlines and I don't see weekly things turned in, that's really the recipe for disaster, right? That's really when you get in the hole and you cannot get out of it. So, again, if things happen, that you can't complete the work, you can't turn it in, contact me. That's how I can be flexible. That's how I can help you, really, and help get you back on track. The other thing I would say is try to meet during open office hours. My goal, once I establish what those hours are, is to have people show up and then really go through the lecture stuff with them. Answer questions that they may have. Look at drawings they did maybe from the previous week and give them feedback on how to make them better, how to improve. There's so much that happens in an in-class studio where I'm looking over people's shoulders while they're working and correcting what they're doing and saying, no, hold the pencil like this, or do this, or no, you're not seeing this, or look at that shape. All of that I can't do, right? Unless you're in contact with me, where I can see what you're doing, and then that helps me to be able to kind of assess, well, what's going wrong here? How can I help this person, right? And it's going to be different for each person. Some people are going to have more trouble. Other people, it's going to be easier. It'll just depend, right? Bottom line, if you're struggling, I'm here. Get in contact with me, right? Let me help you. Materials can really make or break your drawing, right? Don't skimp on materials. You have to get what I asked you to get. And each item is on the list for a particular reason. We don't have a textbook. I'm supplying all of the information on Canvas, and so I want you to use the budget that you might on a textbook on materials, right? I had some people last semester during classes that they were not getting the right materials, or they were skimping, and it was just, made it just so difficult for them to do the work. You have to get the materials, right? Now, if you're on a budget, I have things marked with a star, and they are in a dark blue so that you can get just those things and then gradually get more of the things, right? I'm saying maybe mid-February you want everything, right? One bit of note about the paper, I've got 2 different pads on there. If you can't get the thinner and the thicker paper for some reason, just get 2 pads of the thicker paper. That's fine. The last here is presentation is incredibly important. Taking great photos is a must. It's the only way I can see what you're seeing. And so the best way to do that is to take a lot of photographs. Now, in Canvas, I have modules that go through different websites, videos, my own photos and my own tips, just a wealth of resources about how to do this well. It's not easy. We're so used to taking photos with our phones, but we're not used to documenting things with even lighting that's straight and on a neutral, non-distracting background, and presented in the best possible light so that it looks in focus, evenly lit, and accurate to what you're seeing. That's the only way I can really grade what you're doing and help you, right? This takes a lot of learning how to do these things, and it's going to take time. So in this first module, take a bunch of photos to help start figure out what's the best place, the best light, the best time of day, all of those kind of factors that make or break the photos. Okay, that's all I've got for you, at least as far as good tips. I want you to have a great semester. And again, I'm here to help you. Please attend my open office hours if you can. And best of luck.